classmates, and we had sold a script together to Universal, and we were like, yeah, here we go. Got our health insurance, it's awesome. And then we sold another script. Like, wow, this is just like the dream come true. But sooner or later, we realized we were the guys that were selling scripts, but weren't getting movies made. And so this really came out of a desire to, to do what we wanted, to do when we came out to California, which was to make movies. So like Sig said, we said, all right, we got to think clearly about this. One location, two great actors, all takes place over one day. That was very deliberate because we knew we weren't going to have a lot of money. So, for film, all of you who are, if any of you are in the audience, grappling with the same issues, simplify. It really helped us a lot.
Is it true that the Hollywood folks said it's so small, your movie?
Yes.
That's the line that ends up in the film. It's so small, it's so intimate.
Yeah, we just got so angry after a while. Yeah, too small. Every studio, too small. But we were like, no, well, it's big emotions. But so finally, yeah, we did put it.
So you got them back.
It's not small.
So talk about the chemistry between Vera and Annie. You talked a little bit about how you decided to just go into the movie cold, but I think people might be wondering two things. First of all, the girl who plays Vera's daughter is her sister, her younger sister. So their relationship is really quite extraordinary. The film is extremely believable, so I have to believe that Vera was somewhat of a mother figure to her sister in real life, because they're like 20 years apart, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can talk to the relationships within the movie and how that sort of just kind of evolved during the filming, if it did.
Well, once we had Vera, we immediately said, let's ask Vera if she would be interested in working with her sister. Because we knew Thaisa was a young, I saw Thaisa in Vera's movie that she directed called Higher Ground, and she wasn't an actress. Vera just said, you played me as a young myself. And then she was an American Horror Story, and we knew she was a great, this talented young girl. So we called Vera and said, we don't want to do this without your consent, but what about Thaisa? And she said, oh, she'd be great, it'd be fantastic. So we talked to her, she went in, and then we found Spencer O'Franco in the casting process. And no, the thing with Vera was, listen, as an actor, you want to act with the best people, the best actors in the world. I really feel that Vera is an actress that could be touted as the Meryl Streep of her generation. I think she's an extraordinary actress, and I was, so we were, but again, it all goes down to the material. If it's not on the page, you're not going to get Vera, you're not going to get anybody in the film. So it all goes back to what these guys did, and that will pull in. I always knew, because when you get involved in an independent film, a movie that has no money, you go in, you're doing it because you're stimulated by the material, and you got to know that down the road, the material is going to attract the talent. Without the talent, you don't have a movie because you can't raise the money. So it really all comes back to, one thing that was the stepping stone, And then I was blessed that Vera read it and liked it and, accepted me as her co-lead. You know what I'm saying? It's like she was interested in working with me, I was interested in working with her. The material was there, and then she joined and it's a building block. That's the way it works, And once you have that, it's all done because all you have to do, like Vera said, was that you just execute. The material is there. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. And it's important because of the digital medium. Today you can, in film you can move with the digital medium. You can move a lot faster in the sense that you can shoot, and not be concerned about how many feet of film you're shooting and the reloading process and all that. So catching the early stages of the relationship on camera is very important. I'm a firm believer of rehearsing on camera to shoot the first day. That's particularly my style. I'm not concerned about it. I'm not worried about it. I'm not nervous about it. The actors that I know, the people I respect, when they come to work that morning, they're ready to go. They don't need to rehearse anything. They're ready to go. It's not like stage where you rehearse a play and stuff like that. In film, it's about the gathering of the raw material. And the freshness the raw material is. You want to catch those magical moments, you want to catch freshness and those fresh moments that are created. It's a different medium, you know, and the digital medium, even though you might like it or not like it for a photographic image, you know, but compared to film, but in terms of the nature of gathering material, the raw material for the movie, it does free you tremendously.
And Adam?
Well, I just wanted to add, Thaisa, when she shot the movie, was 17, so technically, legally, she had to have a guardian on set. And her mom was there, so if you see Thaisa really bristling, you know, she's you know, it's not from Vera, they were great friends, but I think, you know, having Luba on the set was a little overwhelming at times, so she channeled that.
So one more from me, and then we're going to open it up to you. So Arturo Sandoval did the score for this. I know you have an intimate relationship with him because you played him in a biopic on HBO. So talk about the score and how that figured in, and did you approach Arturo to do this?
Well, I've known Arturo for many years, as I said, I played him in the film, and I played in his big band, you know, and I remember his orchestra. We're very good friends and collaborators, and we actually even wrote a song for the movie that the director did not use in the movie. And I'll never let him forget it.
He's saving it for the sequel, I think.
Yeah. It'll be in the sequel, Paris Day. But anyway, no, we're very good friends, but when we were doing the movie, I said to him, you know, Arturo was very interested in continuing his exploration as a film composer. And he's available to us if you want to use him. He said he would charge nothing to do the film, which was right in our budget range. And they were, you know, supportive, you know, they were excited, obviously excited about that, and that's how it happened.
Great. Okay, so anyone in the audience? All right, over here. But how are we going to do this, Robin? Oh, right on.
You might want to give up a mic to the audience.
So way over there.
First of all, it was a great film. I respect that it took place in a single day in one setting with no night shots. I mean, that's pretty tough to do. You know, I really don't know many films that have done that. You know, maybe a few. So I commend you on that. My question was just, this is more just me wondering, did you ever think about switching to George having a daughter and Edith having a son? Was that something that ever went through your mind at the beginning or anything like that? Because it would have added a different dimension. I'm just curious to get thoughts on that.
I don't think we did that, but what we did do, for forever in the script, the two characters in the dorm room were two guys. It was Travis and Duncan. You know, the stoner guys. And they were like, oh, maybe that's a little cliche, I don't know, whatever. But then Andy introduced us to his daughter, Daniela. And she was a little bit old to play Audrey, because we really wanted to cast someone who was 17. But she gave a dynamite audition, so it inspired us to change, Duncan to Daphne. And we thought that was kind of cool, because there are a lot of couples in this movie. You've got obviously George and Edith, and Audrey and Conrad, and Daphne and Travis, and some poor woman who's shackled, and Justin gets slapped. So we sort of like that sort of those pairings. So that was an example we did rethink that.
Another question?
Earlier this evening, I had the honor to meet Andy Garcia, and I said to him, I'm an older type actor that probably should have hung it up years ago. And he said to me, never. That's very generous. I want to say one thing. Both Andy and Vera, your chemistry was impeccable. Phenomenal. So well written from beginning to end. I was excited and enjoyed it. And I'm also a new screenwriter. And keep it simple. It was a great tip for me. Thank you so much for the evening.
I would just like to ask screenwriters,
or story writers. How did you feel when you saw, because you had no idea what would happen, but that feeling when you saw Andy and Vera melt and in that magical way? Did that, was it beyond your dreams, or is it, you know, what you expected?
Well, we've said this before, it doesn't matter how great a script you have and how great the talents are you have performing, you cannot legislate the chemistry between a man and a woman. It's just a wild card that you can't even, when you're meeting and looking at them interacting in a room, it's not the same. And I remember the first scene, first day, was that on the bench when they were looking, and I was watching the monitor, and Adam was directing the scene, and we shared a look, and it was just
Like, thank God.
it was just
Such a relief.
and it just continued to get better and grow, and they were, I just commend Adam for being so fearless in terms of letting them sort of bring their talents and gifts to the life of these characters. Like, for example, that scene where they come up after being chased by the cops on the bicycle in the theater. In the script, when they go into the door, they instantly have interrupted the class and everything begins from there. But in the movie, it's 3 or 4 minutes of them just, that's all them. That was not scripted, and that was a product of where their relationship had come to at that particular point in the shoot, where they were, she was putting on the hat and dancing, and he was at the boater, and it was Toulouse-Lautrec, and, it was just really a joy to watch, and Adam, gave them the freedom to be able to make those choices, and then have the courage to use them in the final film.
Yeah, something else that happened that Andy and Vera were really responsible for, I don't know if you picked up on it, but the way they were sort of moving with each other, so much of the film was 2 shots. One of my goals was to have them in the frame together as often as possible. And so what they started doing when I was shooting it that way was almost like dancing, the way they were moving around each other on the top of the bell tower. It's almost like a little tango, and then obviously in the fountain. Thanks, someone noticed it. But yeah, so I think that was just a really simple sort of thing that they came up with and we ran.
Brilliant. The screen, the story is brilliant, and the acting.
Thank you so much.
So I my question comes down to the acting side of things, because you didn't have any rehearsal time. You shot for 17 days. Did that affect your shooting schedule at all? And also, another part too for Andy. Andy, what was your favorite scene to shoot? I really enjoyed watching the stoner scene, personally.
The what?
What was your favorite scene to shoot?
The favorite scene, I don't know if I have a favorite. I don't know if I have a favorite scene now. I love the scene in the bell tower where she realizes that he's fear of heights. That was fun. But the stoner scene, since you mentioned that, when that song that's in the thing what was it? The Pink Snatches of Pink song. I said to Glenn, let me have the song so I can work. He goes, no, I don't want you to hear the song until you do it. So really, when on the set, when that song, when I pushed that button on the computer, that's the first time I heard the song, And so what's on camera is, George's exploration of that song. But what was in the script, he said, it was a beautiful line. He said, George dances as though an octopus was falling out of a tree.
I think you achieved full octopus. Full octopus.
Yeah. That was the only thing that was in the back of my mind. But to me, the script had this quality that I'm a huge fan of Buster Keaton and Jacques Tati, and also Jacques Tati as a filmmaker, and Buster Keaton as a filmmaker. And the script had this kind of quality of the French sort of new wave, 60s romantic Truffaut kind of, 2 people on a holiday kind of thing, and also the elements of Tati or Buster Keaton or Harold Lloyd. And when when I first read the script, and when the first meeting we had, we talked about Tati, and they were a big fan, so I knew we were kind of in the same vein. And then I had this image that I said, I had this image of like Harold Lloyd, just the physicalness of the glasses and the bow tie. The bow tie was not in the movie, it was really just a tie. And I said, I'd like to change it. I think he's a guy, you know, wears a bow tie, because my ENT in Los Angeles dresses like this guy. He's dresses in Brooks Brothers, button-down shirts, very crisp, very well ironed, always with a bow tie. His doctor's, you know, white coat is like perfect, like starch. Like this guy has ammonia on the thing, you know? And he's perfectly groomed, and he's very, you know, very tight and precise. And
You said one of the keys to the character was walking like your grandfather.
yeah, well, every time I see the scene, some of my relatives are here. I don't know if they never met my grandfather, but my grandfather, there's a scene where early on in the movie with me and Vera were walking, and she's talking about that she has an antique store, and that thing, when I walk, it's like the early moments of the movie. And when I see myself in the scene walking like my grandfather, it brings a lot of memories to me. He was also a very proper guy, you know, who used to, very fastidious, very well dressed, very well bathed. Very, you know, it's very careful. I mean, he used to take out a ruler. This is just a curious thing. One day you'll see it in a movie, and you go, oh yeah, you told me about that. He used to take a little 6-inch ruler that he carried with him, and he would put his finger on the table and up against the ruler, and he would draw with a pencil a midpoint on his fingernail, and then he would use that little pencil mark to file his nail down to. So, that to me was George. That's what George said.
I just wanted to make sure too, it did affect the shooting schedule. Our cinematographer, as Andy said, he was a really, you know, a big fan of just using natural light, very few instruments. So the schedule is often organized, you know, in the